Welcome to another The Builders Extra. This one we're going to be talking about a topic that stems from episode 71, the last one, which was just a solo episode. So I'm expanding on a topic that I was talking about. When I do an episode like that, this one I talked about pricing and kind of an update on my business. I talk from the trenches, so it's all stuff. What I talk about is all stuff related to what I'm doing, literally, on a day-to-day basis, year-to-year basis. And in this case, I was talking about pricing and how I've structured that over time, how that's evolved over time. And while I'm always a little shy about talking about like where I am revenue-wise and stuff, because I don't know why. I did mention that, we've built the business to a point where last year we experienced our first, 6 figures in revenue in 1 year. So we're on this kind of trajectory. We're increasing, we're growing, it's good. But as I was thinking about that, I'm like, what is that? Because towards the end too, I talked about how, well, it's important. On some level, right? You need to make an income, but I don't, and again, I say, I'm like, this is corny because everybody says this, but the most important thing to me is that I'm happy. I don't want to be making any level of income if I'm miserable coming to work every day. Right. But what does that do for me though? And this is, I think, what I wanted to expand on. That level of income or that revenue actually is a validation to me, right? Now, that didn't happen. I was making money in the first couple of years. I've never been unprofitable, right? I sell services. It's a little easier with services than probably physical products and stuff like that online. But what the last year and a half did is it validated some ideas for me that actually what I'm doing and how I'm structuring things is legitimately a good thing and it's working. And everything from what's working, everything is from especially the last year and a half, from the marketing side of things, what we're doing even on social media with the podcast, networking and all that stuff, that's working because that's attracting business to us. It may not be obvious from our footprint online because we're not the, most popular account anywhere, right? We don't have thousands and thousands of people liking our stuff. It doesn't matter, but and that's kind of the point here, right? It doesn't matter what the outside observation is. We know what we're doing and that we're doing well and that we're going to continue to do what we're doing because we're able to measure what is working. What was the result of that sale or that new partner relationship? How did that happen? And we can track it back a lot of times. So we know what's working. So that's validated those things, but also the services, right? So the first couple of years that I was in business, I always thought about it just as an example of one of the things we do. I always thought about we will sell maintenance. I had this small idea about maintenance. I'm like, had never sold it before. So I didn't really know the potential there to help others and what we could provide people. And also I hadn't fully understood the need yet. But I knew it was something I wanted to offer because I think it's beneficial. It's a kind of a win-win, right? From us, it's a more stable, like I'm talking monthly contracts and stuff, monthly maintenance. It helps stabilize our income, our revenue, but also it's something that, it's high value to the people we help with it. So those things were validated. Right. In this last year and a half, because we sold a number of those out of the blue. Like the first year or two, I did not. I can't remember, but I don't think we sold any maintenance at all. I always had it there, and I tried to sell it. And but it took a couple of years. So that's what's interesting, though, too, is that sometimes validation takes time. You may not, and there's different angles to this, right? The validation has to have all the elements in place. Like I couldn't validate the idea until I found the market that needed what I was selling. So that was part of that validation. Like, oh, this is the market. Oh, this is the scenario where I can sell these packages. So that's, and that's something that, again, it took time. It took experimenting, because I tried selling it to along the way, a much more trimmed down version of what we sell today. And it just never worked. And I don't think I just never in those days, had the right, we hadn't defined that vertical that we were going to sell to. So it takes time. So validation takes time. It's not going to happen necessarily overnight. You have to either have some existing avenue, that you can quickly validate something, but otherwise sometimes things percolate. It takes time. So the other thing is, now I'll leave it at this, but so if you are any follower of this podcast, you know that we're working on plugins, right? WordPress plugins. Because I used to have products. We closed that down. I got a whole new product I'm developing. And there's different pieces to that. Not to get into that. Doesn't matter. But, with plugins, it's the same thing. With product, it's the same thing. I'm going to have to validate that what our ideas, we can develop the product and have an awesome plugin with great features that we like. But until I present that to a market and I start getting people buying it and using it and giving us feedback, it's sort of just this idea. It's not anything that's validated. It's validated to the point where we can use it. We know we'll use it, and it's going to be useful to us because that's where we're starting. We'll use it internally with our agency and with clients and stuff. But the real validation is when we make that first sale, 5th sale, 10th sale. I don't want because that first sale could just be a friend, that pities us, feels bad. Anyway, but that's. And then, so what the goal was or is with those plugins is that I'm trying to build them minimal viable, with some features and throw the idea out there, get some feedback, and then we'll build more features as we get that eventually feedback will probably drive kind of the direction of each plugin. But those plugins are actually part of a larger project, unified toolkit. That's a whole nother topic. But that's my ideas around validation, though. I think it's meant for me when I talked about making those 6 figures, even though I'm less concerned about that, obviously, there's another component of this, like what's the profit on top of that, which is not bad either. But that is not I don't wake up every day like, how much money am I going to make today? Or are we going to meet that goal? Am I, like last year, I don't think my goal was even worrying about 6 figures. I just wanted to be profitable, So, but when I did reach that, it informed me that what we were doing was valuable, that we had created a service, created a business that we could execute on and that could attract more business, that, we created systems that we could actually deliver our services. We built a team all this stuff kind of came together, and we're still rocking and rolling. So it's been validated. So that's it. If you have a product or you have a service, you have some idea, you have to find a way to get that validation, and it's going to be pretty obvious, probably, right? When it does, you kind of probably got to figure out, what that looks like in your particular situation, you also got to keep in mind that sometimes an idea needs to percolate. It might take time. You don't necessarily, just because it doesn't blow up in the beginning, that idea, if you keep it with you and you're fluid with it, eventually it might slot somewhere and work. Until next time, hope you found this valuable.